Good morning. Thank you, Jen, and it's a pleasure to be here with the TEDx day in Baltimore, rewired. It's a little scary to see that, but I wiped out skiing a couple days ago and broke my collarbone, so I'm one-armed today. But when I think about Baltimore City and having grown up here and left for a while and came back, never thought I'd live in this city, but I have the last 28 years and got involved with an organization that we've been growing since then. And I look at this city and I see the Inner Harbor and I see the incredible glitz, the opportunities, the jobs, the historic ships, the incredible harbor that, when I've been to many harbors all over the world, and Baltimore has geographically probably the most beautifully set up harbor in the world. And we've done a pretty good job over the years as a city making that harbor a great spotlight for the city. And so we've been fortunate to be part of the opportunities on the waterfront with the historic ships like the Constellation, the submarine, the lighthouse, the lightship, the Coast Guard cutter, the Frederick Douglass Isaac Myers Maritime Park, which replicates and honors the first black-owned shipyard in the United States, right on the point of Fells Point, the new visitor center out at Fort McHenry, where the birthplace of the Star-Spangled Banner and our nation was defended 200 years ago. Things like that, working with Mr. Rouse and as he was growing the harbor place. But from day one, 28 years ago, and especially over the last couple decades, really, when you look 4 or 5 blocks in from that harbor, and you see the issues in our neighborhoods, you see the poverty that grows in places like Perkins Home, and as you head up towards Johns Hopkins Medical Institute, or if you go west or south or north, you don't have to go very far from that glitzy harbor to find the issues of poverty that are striking our city here, and that strike pretty much any urban area in this country. So, Living Classroom Foundation, which is who I work with, and we began, is this going to work? We began many years ago to focus on those that are not so fortunate, and to work. We partner with over 300 schools. We have all sorts of things going on where our goal is to help to utilize these unusual, what we call living classrooms, whether they're ships, whether they're buildings, whether they're neighborhoods, recreation center, athletic fields, community centers, as places of learning and helping young people to reach their potential academically, in the workplace, and in their lives. And about 5 years ago, we were very inspired by a gentleman, Jeffrey Canada, who created the Harlem Children's Zone. And Jeffrey has done an amazing work over the last 20 years of targeting resources in a targeted area of Harlem and creating a pipeline from cradle to college career so that children, youth, and young adults will be served with schools that are performing well, with early childhood education that is serving youth, to provide the opportunities for teenagers if they're not succeeding in the traditional school, etc. So we began to model on that a little bit, and I'm just going to point something out. If this is the Inner Harbor we talked about right there. This is an East Harbor campus, the Douglass Myers Maritime Park. If you come up, this is Johns Hopkins Medical Institution, the most famous, top-performing hospital in the world. And amazingly, right around this area, which we call the Children's Target Investment Area, there's incredible symbols of, well, not just symbols, there's incredible poverty there. You've got 16 schools. Many are very poorly performing. High dropout rates, low-performing test scores. You've got crime, you've got grime, you've got drugs, you've got shootings, you've got killings, you've got the things that we read about in the paper day in and day out. Now, that can be depressing, or we can see that as an opportunity and a challenge, and how together as a community can we come together and work in a public-private partnership with government, with neighborhoods, with corporations, with foundations, to do what we can, like Jeffrey Canada did, to create a pipeline and to create services and facilities in a targeted way. And so we began to raise millions of dollars to provide in a targeted effort and to create some facilities and programming, all with the goal of helping to break a cycle of poverty here in this area of East Baltimore. So I'm just going to point a couple of these out, and then I'm going to run through a couple of slides over these next couple of minutes. But right here, Perkins Home is the largest public housing site in the city, and there's a 110-year-old firehouse that we've restored. There's now a community center and a computer lab, just as the gentleman before me was speaking, and providing opportunities for children. It's a food desert there, and we were able to work with seniors to help them get their food ordered on computer and then picked up and have delivered there. Where it's English as a second language, bringing the Latinos from the population that's east of Broadway and that unspoken boundary. We're now bringing Latinos into a primarily African-American community and bridging that gap. You go up to the Carmelo Anthony Youth Development Center, largest, one of the top recreation centers in the city. Was closed 5 years ago. We got Mello to step up with $1.5 million grant. That's working with 150 to 200 children a day. This is all public housing right here, and with public housing comes issues. So that's serving children out of public housing every day. Everywhere you see a blue flag is a school in this area. So with the core competencies of working with education, workforce development, job training, and health and wellness. Those are our three legs of the stool at Living Classrooms, and our team of 30 partners, because this is all about a partnership and bringing together to focus on the issues of poverty and create resources to help. Tench Tillman Rec Center closed 3 years ago. We were fortunate to go out and get funding, now working with 85 elementary school kids a day. I've got a 12-year-old boy. I would not want him walking on Monument Street at 2:45 in the afternoon with nothing to do. I know he'd find something to do and it wouldn't be good. So we've got kids having a healthy meal, then working on their homework, then working on different activities, and then having some fun and staying out of trouble. You've got the Commodore John Rogers turnaround school here. This is the Patterson Park Patterson Park Sports and Education Center that we just opened a couple months ago. You'll hear from Joe Ehrman later. He's our partner. A brand new field and a 5,000 square foot building. And then City Springs field here. And you may say, what are we doing with athletic fields? But these schools have no physical education, no sports. You've got diabetes and all sorts of issues happening with kids and obesity. Kids need to get outside. They need to have some physical education. This is one of the real needs and desires of these schools and these communities. So Living Classrooms, we teamed with the NFL, Under Armour, Cal Ripken Senior Foundation, Tony Deering and the Rouse Foundation, and Meyerhoff and others to help raise money to create these new facilities in a place where previously there were no athletic fields, no opportunities. So that in a period of about 3-4 years, we now have 7 new facilities up in this area of this Children Target Investment Zone. And just before I go away from the map, just look at how little this geographical distance is between all the opportunity of the Inner Harbor and the poverty in our East Baltimore neighborhood. It's not a very far distance. And so we're also bringing thousands of volunteers from Under Armour, T. Rowe Price, Legg Mason, all the different corporations and groups who before might have thought going up in these neighborhoods, you see The Wire, you see homicide, are they going to come out alive by volunteering up here and helping others? And lo and behold, people are having tremendous experiences. So it's bridging that gap. And so not only bringing the opportunity from the neighborhoods and people down to the waterfront and the jobs and opportunity, but also bringing people who can help from the harbor area up into the neighborhood. So you've got the East Harbor campus, Crossroads School. We started a dozen years ago, first charter school in the Baltimore area, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, kids that are all 2, 3, 4 grade levels behind, living in public housing. They come to this campus, and in 3 years, they are prepared to go to high school. Last year, all the kids graduating out of the 8th grade into 9th grade went to college preparatory high schools, the cities, the Polys, the Westerns. Over a third were accepted in scholarship to the top private schools, the Gilman, McDonough's, Parks. And so this campus has grown. It's right in the middle of all the the glitz and the business of the Inner Harbor. And so that's been a successful model that has grown. And also on this campus is where job training works with young men who've dropped out of school, and the Fresh Start program's been operating for 21 years, 40 weeks, 2 years of aftercare. 75% of those young men are not rearrested and are continuing their education after 3 years. That's the kind of programming that goes on at that site, helping turn lives around, helping these guys to become role models and leaders of the future. Because of the success of that charter experience, Commodore John Rogers, the third worst performing school in the state out of 850 schools, well, the foundation was asked to take that over 2 years ago. The enrollment's gone. We were able to replace 60 staff with only 2 returning. We bought the best practices of Crossroads. The enrollment's gone from 250 to 560. That school now is above average in math and in reading in the city and is a model for the nation and in turning around schools. An early childhood center will be started there this fall, working with an early Head Start and a Head Start program. So from birth to 8th grade, be services happening there. Here's the powerhouse, that firehouse, 110-year-old firehouse. It's now a beacon of hope right in the middle of the public housing. It's where lives are being changed daily, healthy eating. The Carmelo Center, again, you have to have the healthy meal, work on your homework, do what you need to do, then you can play ball and have fun, stay out of trouble. And that's right up at that site, the Carmelo Center. And then this incredible, when you go by Patterson Park next time, you'll see the brand new turf field and 5,000 square foot building. It's just an amazing new site. Safe streets, every night 6 men on the streets. We've mediated over 350 disputes, have 4 ceasefires between rival gangs, and the whole goal is to stop shootings and killings. And so these are some of the things that are important to help change this area of the city and to make a difference for this city in the long term. And as I have my final words, and just using this as an example, that if you can come together in partnership with 30 other partners, work cohesively with government and funders, have a vision for the future to change this part of the city. It's not going to happen overnight. It may take 10 years. Jeffrey Canada took him 20. But we hope to do over the next 10 years is to, and we measure everything, is to make sure that this part of the city becomes a vibrant economic place where children can grow up and be safe and families can be successful for decades to come. Thank you.